the 1620 The Zone app, and 1620thezone.com. When 6A to 6P isn't enough, the boys have you covered. Here's Jimmy Allen
and John Schreiner.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome inside the After Hours Lounge, brought to you by Bellevue University. Download the BU Bruins app to keep up to date on all the championship action happening on Bellevue's campus today. No John Schreiner tonight, Jimmy Allen, Dan Campinen holding down the fort while John is doing Creighton softball. But we got a great show lined up for you. Lee Corso is officially leaving College Game Day. Dan and I send off a salute to the headgear itself. Will it stick around? We'll debate that at 6:15. Ashton Jeanty has a message for the NFL and all the teams considering taking him, and we're going to read it to you and give you our thoughts at 6:30. We'll buy or sell on several different topics, including WrestleMania. It's this weekend, folks. Dan and I are going to talk about it at the top of the second hour. Dan's
so excited.
Dan is so ready for this discussion. Friend of the show, Zach Hughes, will be back on the ice and talk about the upcoming Ice Wars. It's ice skate fighting. We'll talk about that at 7:15. He and Chrissy Salda, will be in studio with us at 7:15. Fran Brown wants all of the smoke tonight. We retired the Who Wants the Smoke segment. We might have to bring it back just to give you Fran Brown updates if he's going to continue having the hottest takes in the world like he had today. He had a message for his wide receiver leaving Syracuse. We'll talk to you about that at 7:30. And as always, we will wrap up the show giving you our Papillion Sanitation trash takes of the night. 402-951-1620 is where you can get a hold of the show. You can also follow the show at After Hours 1620, where you can also watch Unsportsmanlike Conduct from 2 to 6, apparently. Matt Rule took to the podium today, and he started off talking about Jack McAllister. And I think a lot of people were surprised to see his name into the transfer portal yesterday. Obviously, it was an Ed Foley guy, was brought here by Ed Foley, but not what Mike Eckler is looking for. And I love that Matt Rule started with this because he really hasn't touched on many guys entering the transfer portal from Nebraska, and he wanted to make sure that he told everybody Jack McAllister's story, which I thought was really interesting. It's just not a fit for what Mike Eckler wants to do. Mike Eckler loves him, a rugby-style punter. And Matt Rule said that they're going to probably bring somebody in the summertime, and they've got probably a couple guys that they're keeping an eye on. Just so happenstance, the day after Nebraska's would-be starters entered the portal, a rugby-style punter out of Boise State entered their name into the transfer portal. So a name to keep an eye on is James Ferguson Reynolds from Boise State. He started last year. He's an Australian rugby-style punter and was one of the best in the nation a year ago and is in the transfer portal currently. And the way things are shaking out right now, they probably can't bring anybody in until June, and we'll see how that goes into but it sounds like they have the name or eye on a couple of guys too.
Oh yeah, it sounded like, and I want to say I like that he started with this in his press conference today because it was something that I saw a lot of media members and a lot of Nebraska centric sites beginning to run with yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Whoa, stop that. I'm going to tell you what's going on, put it on Front Street, and just let you know that, like, this is why you're seeing his name in the portal." And I also like the fact that he commended the guy and said, he's stayed with us at practice, even though he knows he's going into the portal and he knows he's not going to be the number one punter. So gave him all the commending for that. And I mean, I took like 3 pages of notes on Matt Rule today. I loved it. This was a very wide-ranging press conference where he said a lot of the same thing in different ways in a very positive form.
2 things. Can you turn the camera on for the show first? But secondly,
boo! I like our logo.
It does look good. We need to get John Schreiner's name on there. There's still, and don't forget to punch into the night shift. Leave a comment on YouTube or Twitter, and we will get to your thoughts as well, maybe on anything Matt Rule was talking about today. I honestly think this might have been the most pull the curtain back moment of the Matt Rule era through this press conference.
Oh yeah,
he covered so much in one of his actual shorter press conferences. It was only about 26 minutes. But not only did he talk about the transfer portal, the 105 revenue sharing, but he talked about like the people that we see attend practice, the fact that his father and his kids come to practice. I don't think he's ever mentioned that before. He brought that up later in the press conference. He thanked Lee Corso and talked about what Lee Corso has meant to him. And obviously we're going to talk about that next too. But I love the fact that he said, hey, we're probably going to have game day here a couple times this year too. And it's like, is being cocky but not overconfident about it. And we're going to get into what he thinks about this year's team also in a minute. But he talked about his
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, he talked about his job And he was asked, about players from Nebraska in the 105 and what that's going to look like. And he said, "My job is not to coach the players who are going to play. My job is to coach everyone." I think sometimes that gets lost in translation for coaches because obviously when you talk about 105 guys to manage, that's a lot. It's not just the 35 to 40 guys that you see play snaps on game days. It's everybody. And you got to manage all of those personalities on top of the coaches, on top of the administration. We know how large this staff has grown to. And Matt Rule has to manage all of those players. We talked about this, I think it was Tuesday night, where we didn't know if the 105 was going to include guys that were grandfathered in that were already on campus or if they were going to have to cut it. And Matt Rule said, let us know today that that's not going to be the case. And some of these guys, they're going to be playing their last meaningful games or snaps as a Husker inside Memorial Stadium next Saturday. And for that reason, Matt Rule is lining up the football. It is going to let some guys put some stuff on film. And I know I've seen people's comments on Twitter and YouTube today that this is a money grab and they're not getting the response that they thought they would from the volleyball scrimmage and the Husker yard sale and all that. But like when you look at all the reasons Matt Rule decided to cut the actual red and white spring game, none of them are in play for what we're going to see on next Saturday. There isn't going to be any Big Ten network there to televise it, so you don't have to worry about it. He's not playing the starters. He's gonna let those guys that are competing for the 105 or have already been told that they're not going to make the 105 get some stuff on film to be able to put it out there. So when they do put their name in the transfer portal when it opens up again, they have something other than their high school film to show whatever their next school is. Because not doing this, and I didn't think about this aspect. So, and I wonder, and he talked about his son Brian, who's on campus now, and I wonder how much of the fact that Matt Rule actually has a little more insight to what a day-to-day lifestyle of a college student is now, that it made him take this more, not that he didn't care, but like have more of a reference point for it, that it's in his own house to go, we need to get these guys who want to be Huskers but can't be because of restrictions we have no control over, the opportunity to better their situation wherever it may be next time. Because if you're a junior or a sophomore and you haven't played football in 2 years and you have no film, I wonder how many schools are even willing to take a look at you. And if you've got something you can give them, that goes a long way.
Yeah, and even if this is a cash grab, like, I'm sorry. I don't care. Shut up, you freaking boners. No one cares that it's a cash grab. It's the way that he described it for guys, and he brought up Jacob Randall a little bit, but he kept going back to Jacob Bauer, a guy who's right on that line, who he is like, he's going to make the 105, but he's hungry and he's gritty, and he's one of those guys that you're going to get to see in the spring game. But he was bringing up Bauer a lot to reference all the other guys who are similar to him, where they weren't getting the look. They weren't the ones who were going to initially be on the 105, and they're working their way on to getting there. And he's like, this is for those guys so that we can see the 2s and the 3s, see what they have, and see who we're going to keep around for longer.
Yeah, and it gives like, and when he kept bringing up Jake Bowers, I kept thinking about John Bullock, and I wonder if this happened 4 years ago, if we even see John Bullock in a Nebraska uniform, or if he ends up playing middle linebacker at Nebraska, or even makes the team or the cut at that point, because he was a walk-on, obviously, and that ended up being your starting linebacker. Matt Rule kept going back to that. Listen, a lot of these guys that you're going to see on Saturday at some point are probably going to be starters for us, and that's the decision they're going to have to make now. Like, who do we cut? And hope we're not mortgaging the future in order to do it. And he was asked about it, and how those guys are handling those expectations. And he said he's interested in seeing who ends up getting hurt more by this and the scholarship limit. Is it the walk-ons? Is it scholarship players? And listen, just because 105 is the roster limit doesn't mean you need to offer 105 scholarships. Now that's the limit now.
Yeah.
But do they end up having 105 scholarships? Because he talked about it. We got to keep up with the Joneses. We got to keep up with Michigan. We got to keep up with Ohio State. We're going to treat ourselves like a top 20 program. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the walk-on program needs to go away now. They could still offer 95 scholarships, and he talked about the importance of keeping the net around Nebraska and keeping in-state kids in state. They can keep the walk-on program a thing, but is it a detriment to the university and the program? That's something that they're going to have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, one of the things I liked too with kind of the whole conversation around the 105 was how Rule touched on the mentality of this team that he's seen so far through the offseason and through, spring conditioning and mat drills and everything, that he was like, yeah, we had some guys transfer out, but
yeah, we've had guys leave the program because mat drills are too demanding.
yeah. And he talked about those guys, but then he shined a light on the fact that he's like, there are a bunch of guys right now on this roster who will not make the 105, who stuck around through mat drills and, put themselves through HE double hockey sticks to try and better themselves every single day to make that 105 and put in the effort and put in the commitment. And he pointed out, it's not just the bottom guys who are putting in effort. It's guys at the top too, who are on that line and are saying like, hey, that last rep didn't go well. He was saying Dane Key and EJ are coming up to him and saying, hey, we want this full tackle right now.
Yeah.
We want full speed. We want to hit. We want to go for it. We want to put our bodies on the line.
Well, and the other thing about the 105, before we move on to that, because the quote of the day came from that, but he said he doesn't know if injured players are going to count into the 105.
Oh.
And that is something I don't know if I've heard discussed yet.
How many guys are going to have turf toe?
Because, well, not even, yeah, that's a good point. But like, you obviously have some loopholes if you decide to go 95 scholarships, and you can let NIL pay for the other 10 if you feel like the guys that you didn't offer scholarships onto can still have college paid for if they're technically a walk-on or whatever. But I think you're going to have certain guys in that situation for injury purposes, specifically if they don't let you keep an IR, maybe 5 to 10 players or what have you.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting when you look at Nebraska's offensive line room right now, too, because there's obviously some key components of those guys that are hurt. And if you know a guy that you think could start for you next year isn't going to be readily available until November, can you throw him on that, what would be the de facto IR, and let him come back into the fold? Or do you have to basically mortgage a roster space to make sure you keep a guy like that around? You brought up the quote in Matt Rule said, I'll be calling out, hey, we're going to go thud here inside the red zone. And guys like Dane Key, guys like Emmett Johnson are coming up and saying, no, let's go live. And he talked on Monday, and this is the second to last time we're going to hear from Matt Rule. We'll only hear from him next Tuesday before the spring Husker games on Saturday. And he said, he talked about on Monday, he talked about how aggressive this team is and how disciplined this team is. And then today, go ahead and play the quote, Dan. This is a direct quote from Matt Rule about this year's team.
This is the team I've been waiting for.
Man, that is something. Listen, and you talked. We opened this up talking. Matt Rule opened up talking about Jack McAllister, and that's where we went first. And you have to wonder, with all the stuff with Dylan's weight coming back on him on socials and press clippings and things like that, how much he's managed the things that he said out loud since then, because he knows how things can take off and run. To make this statement about a quarterback who's a sophomore, albeit a 5-star guy, a lot of relatively unknown guys coming in that you're going to need to be key components in the starting role. Justin Evans, who we mentioned at the end of this, is going to end up, looks like he's going to end up being the starting center. He didn't necessarily say that, but he kind of said that. And all of those question marks, Rocco Spindler, can he, is what he did at Notre Dame portable to what he's going to do at Nebraska in this offense under Dana Holgorsen?
And so real quick, Jimmy, I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to cut you off because I listened to the Evans portion of the presser as well.
Yeah.
And I caught a lot of that. And I loved what he was saying because they asked him directly, what are these two guys?
About if somebody breaks into his house, Justin Evans is the guy who wants to be there to protect him.
Yes.
It's a very random statement, but he said it.
I love the fact that Justin Evans just flat out said, like, yeah, we've got new guys in the O-line room. Yeah. And, we're teaching them the way that we do things here. But he was like, we've got Rocco Spindler in our room right now.
He's a dude, man.
He was at Notre Dame. So we're taking some of the stuff that he knows how to do and that the culture things that Notre Dame kind of has, and we're making that potable to our program as well and kind of combining forces.
I want to get to that in a minute because I want to talk a little bit more about what Matt Rule said. Because the second best quote of the day was, I have one job, and it's to win at Nebraska. And any other coach who's tried to do anything else but win at Nebraska has been fired. That is a direct quote from the current head coach at Nebraska. And it's a really interesting point because I know Gary and Matt, I was listening to Gary and Matt show the other day, and Gary brought up, hey, we haven't done the in-state tour in a while. And obviously, fill in the Bill Moose, Scott Frost joke here.
Ding, ding, ding.
But it really feels like the only incentive Matt Rule has is to win football games. And it doesn't seem like he's very much interested in anything else at this point.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that is. There's a lot of pressure on him to win, but he openly talked about how much better the Big Ten and the SEC have it than everybody else right now. And he specifically mentioned the Big 12. And that may or may not have felt like a direct shot at Iowa State, who currently has 9 Nebraska players on their recruiting class for this year that got late offers from Nebraska. And he talked about that, and he said, if I bring kids here that aren't happy, the place they love becomes miserable for them. So I have to make sure they're good enough to be here. And that may seem like, from any other coach in the previous 4 coaches, that may have seemed like a slight. But you have to think about what Matt Rule did with Ed Foley. And letting Ed Foley go out and tour the entire state and has opened up practices to all of the coaching staffs. Like, they're like coaches, high school coaches in this state are allowed into practices that the media members are not. And he has made sure to keep that door wide open. And he said, I don't think there's anything wrong with us giving ourselves the same respect that we get that we give to the other top 20 teams in the country and treating ourselves as so. Because if one of the schools tells you, like in Ohio State or Michigan, that you need to go to one of their camps to get a scholarship offer, you're not going to say boo about it. You're going to go there to try to earn that scholarship or get offered it. And if you are like, not to put Nebraska in this category, but if you're Purdue, if you're Northwestern, if you're Maryland, you have to start taking that approach as well, in my opinion, because the money that you're going to spend is going to dictate that. Now, obviously, Nebraska has much better facilities than any one of the 3 schools that I just named.
Yeah.
But if you have a seat at the table, you better start winning, because all of the money that's about to start going out of universities is going, like, as fast as coaches were getting fired before, and that's really relevant around here, it's going to be sped up. And if you want to continue to have one of those premier jobs, you need to treat it as such.
Well, and that's the funny thing, is where that quote came and when it came, because it was in reference to the slowing down of recruiting guys in Nebraska and how are you going to handle that with the 105. And I love the fact that Matt Rule immediately went, where's Tommy Frazier from?
Yeah.
And then he goes, no one cares where dudes in Nebraska are from.
Why did it take everybody in the room a minute to say Bradenton, by the way? That was a little weird. Like,
yeah.
Did people think it was a rhetorical question? Like, because obviously everybody in the room knew that answer, but I don't know.
That did make me laugh a little
bit. It's a very weird
I was
moment.
I feel like there are at least 5 to 10 guys in that room, gals in that room, who can just be like, Bradenton, Florida.
It kind of seemed like Mitch was like, does he really not know, or is he actually asking? Like, where is he going with this?
Is this a trick question?
Yeah. So that was a really funny moment.
But yeah, and to move on right after that, he brought up the culture of the team and said, everyone's fighting their clear goals. Obviously, really likes the team this year.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let's take a quick break here, because let's stick on this, then we'll go to the Corso stuff after that. If you missed our opening segment,
what do you mean? We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. If you missed our opening thoughts on Matt Rule's press conference today, we got a lot more to get to. A couple of the players spoke, including Justin Evans, as Dan just alluded to. Check out our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by Allo Fiber. Allo Fiber goes beyond internet speeds, but they're also giving back to the community in a big, big way as well. Check out allofiber.com tonight to see the announcement they have and the ways they're giving back to high school students and students of all ages in the Nebraska area this summer. Check out Allo Fiber to find out how to get involved with a great cause, as well as a company that's built right here in Nebraska and have been around since 2003 that are giving donations to your son or daughter's school. Check out allofiber.com for more details tonight. We'll be right back. Continue our coverage of Nebraska's press conference, keeping you up to date on Stormageddon 2025 as the Black Clouds roll into Omaha. This is the After Hours Lounge, 1620 The Zone. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy on here for Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. Listen, it is cloudy outside. It is bad weather today, but you know what it's going to be tomorrow? It's going to be Friday, and it's going to be a nice day to be out on the links. Do you want to be the best dressed golfer in your foursome? You need to stop by Jerry Ryan, 78th and Dodge. They've got the best from Roan. You can match your golf pants up with the different kind of fun little shirts. There's a bird with a golf club. You've got different options to match up with several different colors for your polo and your pants to make sure that you are the best dressed guy in the golf cart on your Friday, on your Saturday, on your Sunday. The weekend is here. Hit the links. Just stop by Jerry Ryan on 78th and Dodge. Get your golf game ready with Jerry Ryan. They've been dressing Omaha for over 50 years.
You can get a great craft beer pretty much anywhere these days. But what about the whole package? Dining out, service, and atmosphere? Come to Cunningham's Pub and Grill, home of Omaha's original smoked wings, now with 2 locations. We're bringing back Sundays at our Old Mill location this fall, where you can catch all the sports while enjoying quality food and drinks. Find your flavor and follow us online for unique daily specials and fun craft beer events. Cunningham's Pub and Grill in Old Mill and now Blackstone.
The temperatures are rising outside. Don't let them rise inside. Controlled Comfort is your go-to for all things residential and commercial HVAC. Schedule an appointment today to get your AC checked out before summer gets here. Don't forget to make sure that your filter gets changed too. Head over to ControlledComfort.com and get the details on their annual maintenance plans today.
For all your home and business needs, Control Comfort is here to please. Control Comfort keeps it under control. Yeah.
.625 on a Thursday night edition of the After Hours Lounge, brought to you by Bellevue University. Head over to bellevue.edu if you're looking for the ideal college experience this fall. No classes on Friday. The majority of your classes can be done online, but still have the great atmosphere of a campus at Bellevue University. Jimmy Allen, Dan Campion with you here on 1620 The Zone tonight. We're going to talk a little bit more about what we didn't cover from Matt Rule's press conference earlier today. But Dan, I think the Nebraska portion of it's really interesting, right? Like, there's been such a rich history of guys that have played, or even recently, like the Isaac Giffords and the John Bullocks of the world that we just talked about.
Yeah.
That obviously gave their all to Nebraska, and by the time they left here, they were able to be starters and make big time commitments, and obviously John Bullock's a Creighton prep grad from Omaha, and Isaac Gifford is from Lincoln, and I don't know if with the way it is structured now, if you're going to have the luxury to develop guys in a freshman season, redshirt them, and let them be a polished product over 5 years for two reasons, right? I mean, obviously, it's the cash, because you're going to have cash flow. You're going to have to pay them. You're going to have to pay for their scholarship. They're going to get some form of revenue sharing. And it's the playing time, because now you live in a world where, for lack of a better term, Ohio can offer you some sort of money to come be a starter as well.
Yeah.
So how many guys, like, in Nebraska may be that one of a few rare places where kids just want to play at Nebraska and they're willing to kind of stay here to deal with whatever they have to deal with, mat drills or whatever, to stick around. The problem with that is, with the limited number of roster spots you have with 105, and that's still quite a few, you're going to have to recruit over guys. And how many players, because it's not like you're signing up to play for Tom Osborne. No offense to Matt Rule, and maybe it will be. Maybe this will be a moot point in 4 to 5 years. Nebraska will be back in the national championship discussion, but I think that makes this conversation even more relevant if it does. Because if you're going to get to that level and stay at that level, you're going to have to compete on the field and off the field, in the transfer portal, and making sure you're getting good enough guys to come here. And if a guy is not good enough as a freshman to keep up with what you have on your roster, you're going to have no choice but to have to cut him, recruit over him, or not let him stay on campus. And I think you're going to miss that. I think the days of the Isaac Giffords and the John Bullocks of the world are probably gone.
Well, and it's something that I think every single media member, radio station personality, and general blogger who gives a crap about Nebraska would point out and would say, and I'm definitely in the majority here, but Nebraska's walk-on program has always been the richest piece of the storied history of the university, and especially of our football program. That they're
national championships and Heisman probably take more precedence, but
yes,
I get what you mean.
Like, from just like a program.
Sure. From a local standpoint.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
I mean, even as a kid, I was crap at football. And
still are.
A lot. I'm even worse at football now. I've gotten older and fatter.
There you go.
But it's always there in the back of your head, like, that's the dream. Every time you stepped into Memorial Stadium as a kid, you said, wouldn't it be cool to be down there in that red, in that helmet with the tiny N on the side, and just playing for the Nebraska Cornhuskers? It's a dream that every kid has.
And smart ones anyway.
It's one of those that it just feels with the 105 that little bit is going to be taken away, and it's going to hurt. But I think it's also going to make in-state recruiting for Matt Rule all that much more crucial.
Yeah,
because he's going to have quite a few guys where he has to say, hey, you're one of the select few people in this state who we're truly going after. And in his defense,
will that matter? We'll see.
In Rule's defense, he sat the team down at the end of the season and said, I'm not really looking to add a bunch of guys through the portal right now, because I think what we have in this room can get it done. Obviously, you have the portal additions that just come by nature.
And you have to, right? Because that's such a fine line to walk, because just because you think what you have in that room is good enough to win, does that room think that they're good enough to stay? Or are they willing to kind of jump through the hoops to stay?
Yeah.
And like, the injury portion of it's so interesting, because if that's the case, like, I think that gives you a little bit of wiggle room to at least keep some of the guys that you feel like maybe you could develop. But listen, it's got to be a two-way street. Just because, and I thought the quote where he said, I got to make sure guys are good enough to be here, because if they love this place and they come here and they're miserable, he didn't, like, this is me paraphrasing, it's kind of defeating the purpose, right? Like, what, like, do you want to love this place growing up, and then when you're 27 or older, hate it because of the experience you had here? And that's a fair point. The fact that he has the foresight or even the time to care about that is really impressive to me. Because when you talk about, listen, I'm only worried about winning here, and I when he said that, I believe him. I think that is true. But the fact that he cares enough about all of the guys in that locker room to go, hey, I kind of want to make sure that this place doesn't suck for them when they're 30 years old and they can enjoy their time when they're here. Like, I seriously doubt the majority of college football coaches have even care to think that way.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure a lot of college football coaches too aren't really thinking that way in general. And it's the way that quote came up today, right after the Bustin' with the Boys interview came out today. They posted up, you know, with Dan Lanning, and they talked to him at Oregon about like how he recruits there.
I just want to say really quickly, it amazes me they haven't had Mike Eckler on that show yet. But go ahead, sorry.
They have.
I mean, since he got hired in Nebraska.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, they had him
Yeah.
when he was
No,
yeah.
I mean, since he got hired in Nebraska.
Yeah. But so it's funny because Dan Lanning said the exact same thing that Matt Rule did.
Sure.
He was like, we have the facilities and we have all of the stuff that, you know, a recruit would want. But he was like, you have to just recruit the best. He's like, that's the only problem is you're always trying to recruit the best over someone else.
Yeah, and Matt Rule has said it several times. Like, the most desperate teams set the market. And how bad do you want that guy, and how much money do you have in the reserves, and can whatever you're selling him along with the money get him to your program? And if it can, you know, and that's like the fifth or sixth or maybe even further down the list on Nebraska's priority, it's going to come across that way. So getting those kids to come here knowing that you don't have the availability to just go, we'll just give you NIL to give you a scholarship, because
Yeah.
there are only 105 of those spots. That puts you in a really precarious spot. One of the staples of college football is walking away from College Game Day. We're going to give Lee Corso his flowers on the other side of the break. If you missed this segment, check it out at soundcloud.com/after hours 1620. It was brought to you by Cunningham's Pub. Listen, we've told you how elite Cunningham's menu is. They may have the best appetizers in all of the city of Omaha. Stop by, try the BLT bites. It's my personal favorite, but listen, that's just the top of the list. They are all just as good, if not better, as you go down the list. Try the BLT bites and all the other great appetizers at the Blackstone District tonight. Stop by, try Cunningham, stop and park in the brand new parking garage. 300 spaces to park in, just a 5-minute walk to Cunningham's. All of the parking issues in Blackstone have been fixed. Stop down, grab dinner and drinks at Cunningham's Pub tonight. We'll be right back talking about Lee Corso walking away from College Game Day here on 1620 The Zone. Are you looking at your son and daughter right now and thinking, how are you my kid? Are you smart enough to be my child because you make dumb decisions? Has your son or daughter maybe gotten behind the wheel of a vehicle with a friend and gone and damaged a parking lot, or maybe hanging out with Johnny down the street, making bad decisions, and now they've got a court date ahead of them? We have a solution for you. It's Bob Williams with Williams Law. Head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com tonight. Bob and his team are going to walk you through the legal process, explain your rights, and get you ready for your son or daughter's big day in court. Check out WilliamsLawLLC.com tonight and get that free, no obligation legal consultation. Hey, we got to give a shout out. We got to thank Dan's mom for being a great listener to the After Hours Lounge. Dan, what's your mom's first name again? I forgot. Sorry.
Joanne.
Joanne. I wasn't even close. Joanne, thank you for being a part of the After Hours. Thank you for being a part of the night shift tonight, where you can also be a part of the night shift. Head over to our Twitter page or our YouTube page. Leave a comment. Love to say hello to you. Thank you for punching the clock with us tonight. We are brought to you by Bellevue University. Head over to bellevue.edu, register for classes, and become a Bruin this fall. No classes on Friday. You can do the majority of your classes online. The best college experience in the Midwest. It's Bellevue University. Lee Corso is hanging it up after 4 decades of being a part of ESPN's College Game Day. And for everybody that has and the haters have kind of disappeared over the last couple of years, because obviously Coach Corso is getting up there in age. And I know I talked about this a couple of months ago, and I love that they still used Lee Corso sparingly on broadcast, because you could tell he still loved it. And he was still a part of the broadcast at Notre Dame, at Ohio State, the places that you could tell he genuinely loved, and obviously was well received.
Yeah.
But I think when we look back on Kirk Herbstreit's career too, not to make this about Herbie for a second, but I think people's perspective changed on Kirk Herbstreit when he started doing the analyst job, but not only on college games, but on Thursday Night Football, and just really showed you like how much he actually does know the game, and it is a part of the college football landscape. But 2 things kind of humanized Kirk Herbstreit for a lot of people this year. Obviously, his dog passing away, and how much he was a part of that game day show, but being the crutch for Lee Corso. Because I'm sure at the beginning of Herbstreit's career, Lee Corso was that for him. And anybody that's sat in your chair, my chair, or done podcasting or whatever understands that sometimes you need somebody to throw you a life raft. And I can't imagine what that would be like at Lee Corso's age, who just turned 90 in August, and doing it in front of a national audience. It's not just, it's not a crappy little 200-person viewing your podcast, or this 11,000 person listening to this radio show, or whatever it may be. It's it's millions and millions of people that make you a part of their Saturday mornings every college football Saturday.
Yep.
And the fact that Coach Corso had the courage to get up there and do it, because you could tell he knew he was losing his fastball, and I mean, you can argue he already lost it. But the fact that Herbstreit, without even hesitation, jumped in to save him almost every time that he was slipping or missing something or whatever, I think that really gave people an insight to the man that Kirk Herbstreit really is.
Oh, yeah.
And really the relation. I mean, you could tell they loved each other before this, but I think that really opened a lot of people's eyes into what their relationship is actually like.
Well, and I think it's nice too, especially for their relationship in general, because they're always going to be tied together.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially Kirk Herbstreit being at Ohio State, and then having like arguably, not even arguably, the most famous piece of College Game Day lore happened at his school while he was sitting next to Corso on game day.
Dan, will you
The
do me a favor?
first-
Sorry, can you go get our next guest? They're here, because I want to get your thoughts on this. And I want to talk for a second. I want to make sure you get back in here.
I'm
And I
away.
also want them to miss out on the storm, the clouds rolling in to the Omaha area. So if you can hear the sound of my voice, hopefully you're being safe. As of right now, no precipitation in the area, but obviously expecting some storms. We'll try to keep you up to date as that continues to roll into, as we turn on the weather in the studio as well, to try to keep you up to date on what is going on in the Omaha area, as we are expecting severe storms. And we may have to break into the weather if it gets too bad here. We'll try to keep you up to date on what's going on. But for me, like, I really wonder with the headgear selection specifically, if they're going to keep that as a thing, because obviously it's a staple of College Game Day, but it's a staple with Lee Corso, and they haven't done it in the shows that he hasn't been on. But part of me, and this is a discussion, and it's kind of go full circle. This is a discussion we were having with Ryan Kalkbrenner on the Roll Jays podcast the other day, that he would like to see, he wants to see Jackson McAndrew wear 11 next year, and he doesn't want to see his jersey to get retired, and he wants to see 11 out on the court. And I really wonder how much Coach Corso would like the headgear celebration to go with him. I think Nick Saban has kind of, his shell has softened a little bit. And I think having Pat McAfee next to him has helped that to some degree. I don't know if Nick Saban would be willing to wear any kind of headgear. I think it would be great television if he would. But Dan, do you think Lee Corso wants the headgear celebration to kind of leave with him, or do you think you'd like to see that continued? Because they haven't done it unless he's doing it, but he's still technically a part of the broadcast.
So this is one thing that I am hard and fast on a little bit.
Okay.
Number one, most likely from Lee Corso's perspective, if I'm inside of his head, I would assume that he probably would like to see the headgear tradition go on. And he seems like the kind of guy that, doesn't really care about the headgear tradition being like his signature thing and
sure
any of that. But for me personally, retire the headgear thing when Lee Corso is off the broadcast, because it is so tied to Lee Corso and his lore and his personality and, all the great fake outs that he used to have with, bringing
explicitives.
bringing up the SMU thing and then chucking it off and going, I'm putting on the Houston Cougar head. And, he would do that for just about everything, where you pump up the home crowd and then all of a sudden it would be, oh, nope. Actually, I'm going with the away team. And
yeah, it was a great bit. It was a great bit.
It's a great bit, and it's something that I have to say, I know that anyone else could do it, and they could put on the headgear, but no one, I think, got more excited for the headgear pick than Lee Corso.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
All the ways that he's done it, with the Oregon duck on a motorcycle, with a live buffalo, with a white alligator, like watching back, College Game Day, if you haven't seen it, they put together a great just like clip package of basically all the headgear picks he's ever done.
Oh, I was gonna say, if you haven't seen College Game Day, I also wonder why you're listening to this show.
Yeah, that would be the other fair point. But it is marvelous just to see how excited Lee Corso got for it. But then when the school would pick him, the roar that you would hear out of the crowd, and the way that some of the schools would play into the bit, and Matthew McConaughey pulling, I think it was Matthew McConaughey pulled one of the heads off of him and put the Texas Longhorn head on him.
Oh yeah, it was a Oklahoma Center helmet.
Yeah. He pulled it off of him and he put it back on, and it was just, it's the way that all of these schools have become kind of ingrained in the tradition as well. It's something that I think only Corso should be doing.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that, because I don't know if anybody else is going to, like, Saban is clearly great at what he's doing, and I'm a little surprised with how good he is at TV. It just doesn't seem like he'll have the same kind of energy, and that's something, you got to bring the mascot style energy to the mascot head celebration, right?
Yeah, and there's something about Lee Corso too that, I mean, for a lot of,
he's like everybody's grandpa.
Yeah,
Nick Saban is not like everybody's grandpa.
I'm gonna say, and for a lot of kids of my generation, that was our foray into college football.
Fair.
Was how you didn't have to see college football just as an X's and O's, who's starting, who's the quarterback, what kind of scheme do they run, what's their defense, and all of the minutia of college football. Lee Corso made college football into something that was digestible and was funny and was fun and didn't need to be always taken so seriously. Nick Saban is not that.
No, he wants to take
He is very
seriously.
much college football is life. College football is love. College football, if you cut me open, the words college football are going to trickle out of my veins.
We have guests in studio with us. Did they want to come out now, or do they want to wait? Did they say?
They did not say. We can bring them on now.
We'll get them on now. We'll try to get them out before the sky continues to turn green.
We can hold off on the social media soundbite.
Yeah, we'll talk about new rules in college football later in the show. But Zach Hughes is going to come and talk about something very serious with us. Fighting on ice skates. We'll talk about Ice Wars when we come back. If you missed this segment, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by Controlled Comfort Heating and Air. Listen, it's probably going to hail tonight, and your furnace, or hopefully not your furnace, but your AC may be affected by the seasonal storms tonight. If you need to have maintenance done on your AC unit for it being outside after the storm tonight, head over to controlledcomfort.com. Set up a maintenance appointment with Tony and the team. They'll come out and take a look at your AC and make sure it's ready to go for this summer. We're talking ice fighting when we come back. 1620 The Zone. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for our friends at Pepper Jack's Grill. Listen, we know you don't want to go out and brave the elements right now, but maybe tomorrow for lunch, when you're ready to go hit the town and get yourself a Friday fiesta lunch, stop by Pepper Jack's Grill. They've got a bunch of great options. We've already told you a bunch of times. My personal favorite, the steak rice bowl. Dan's personal favorite, the steak gunner Philly, but they have also got some great sides now to go along with your favorite entrees, whether it be the delicious onion rings they've added to the menu. It is Nebraska, so we know we love our cheese curds in the Midwest. Those are on Pepper Jack's menu as well. They've also added a game changer. The jalapeno poppers are now available at Pepper Jack's as well. Stop by tomorrow. Grab lunch at Pepper Jack's 10 great locations in Omaha. .53 on a Thursday night. It's Thursday, Dan, here on 1620 The Zone, brought to you by Bellevue University. Head over to bellevue.edu or download the BU Bruins app to your smartphone to keep up to date on all the championship action happening on Bellevue's campus this spring. Speaking of championship action, the man sitting to my right is hopefully going to bring home a championship in just a few weeks here. Zach Hughes is with us. He's fighting in Ice Wars coming up. This is your second time on the show. For anybody that Dan, can we make sure his mic's on? For anybody that may not have been listening last time, can you explain what Ice Wars is and what exactly you're going to be doing?
All right, so Ice Wars.
Scoot close to the mic.
All right, so Ice Wars is basically exactly what everybody thinks. Everybody goes to a hockey game.
It's what everybody actually goes for, yeah.
Everybody expects a fight. We've all heard the phrase in the hockey community, go to a fight and a hockey game breaks out. People love fights.
Sure.
It's what they're there to do and what they're there to see. And Ice Wars is completely brought that to the forefront of the show.
Mm-hmm.
There is no hockey. There's no goalies. There's no sticks. There's no pucks. We just skate out there and start throwing hands.
But this has got a little bit of a hockey feel to it because you're on skates.
Yes, we're in full hockey gear. Helmets, everything, but no gloves.
And it's also USA versus Canada, correct?
Yes, this show is Team
the-
USA versus Team Canada.
Battle of the Borders. Where's the event happening at?
Mount Pleasant, Michigan.
Seems very, very on brand for Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the name of the Soaring Eagle Casino?
How did you get invited? So you were invited to the first one. We talked about that. Was it just the same group as before? Go ahead and lift the mic up just a little bit too.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it goes up there. It gets pretty high in the air.
Being 6'6", you know.
yeah, sure. John Schreiner, famously not 6'6". So how did you get involved in this? Why was it a big deal for you to represent Team USA?
Well, I got involved with Ice Wars literally on 5 days' notice. They called me completely out of the blue. I'm getting a phone call from, I think it was Alberta, on my phone. I was like, I don't know anybody in Canada.
There's not very
What's
many
this?
people in Alberta anyway.
I answered the phone. They're like, yeah, we're with Ice Wars. I went, oh, yes, sir. I stood up. I
Yeah.
walked outside to make sure it was quiet in my house so that way I could, hear everything. And like, would you be interested in fighting on 5 days' notice? And anybody who knows me says that answer is absolutely.
Yeah, but we had a little bit of a malfunction last time.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, but it's 5 day notice, right? So I mean, it's not really that surprising in the grand scheme of things. Your skate broke, so you technically got disqualified.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you probably could knock somebody out just by playing your feet. What does the process look like this time? The fight is until June 14th, correct?
Yeah, so we got some more time, but since then I've completely reinvested in my skates. That pair of skates is on the shelf. They'll never be worn again.
Yeah, probably a good call.
Oh, I'm so mad at that pair.
How many do you know how many people are on Team USA?
Oh, not off the top of my head.
Sure.
I know of a
Can you
few
ballpark
guys.
it about how many people are going to be on each side? 10, 12, somewhere in that range?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's every fight's just one-on-one. So
Right,
it's not
right.
like a hockey game where we're just going to go out there and all brawl.
Maybe more entertaining that way, but
It probably would be, but that
is it done by weight class as well?
yes, there are weight classes. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships is actually now merged with Ice Wars, so
Sure.
there's a whole new set of rules, and it's going to be absolutely great presentation, great show. I'm very, very excited to be a part of this.
What do we know about the mother Canucker you're fighting?
Oh, couldn't tell you. I haven't signed a
Okay.
official contract yet, so I
Okay.
can't really say who or when I'm. Well, we all know when I'm fighting, but we don't know who yet.
You're heading up to the border.
Yep.
It'll be June 14th. You guys are looking for sponsors also. If somebody is looking to sponsor Team Hughes, how can they go about doing so?
Oh, just contact Chrissy. She handles everything for me.
Chrissy, you want to let people know where they can get a hold of you at?
Yeah, if you guys want to contact me on Facebook, I'm under Christy Deadpool Salda, very class.
Sure. You played hockey before, correct?
I've actually only been playing hockey for about 6 years. I picked
Okay.
it up in 2019.
Did you pick it up because of the fighting aspect?
No, I've actually picked it up just because my brother decided to say he wanted to start trying to learn how to play hockey, and he's
Sure.
a little bit older than me. I'm like, well, if you're gonna do it, I might as well do it too.
You've had MMA fights as well.
Yeah, I've had over 30.
That's just a few. How did what happens in the octagon? Obviously, it was not a very long fight after before your skate broke, but how did what you did in the octagon kind of translate to the ice and vice versa?
I mean, it's more, closely related to a boxing match
Sure.
than
You're
an
not-
MMA fight. I'm
you're
not
not
worried about
double-legging anybody with
takedowns.
blades
I'm
on
not
their
worried
feet,
about
yeah.
elbows. I'm not worried about knees.
Yeah.
But the footwork aspect definitely similar but different because I've got to make sure
You got to keep your
the
feet
skate
planted.
blades
Yeah.
can kind of dig into the ice a little bit and give me some more traction.
You're
But,
6'6". What's the weight?
I think this fight I'm going to be about 280 when I get
That should help.
get on the
That
ice,
should help the
so.
blade dig into the ice a little bit too.
Oh, yeah.
How many rounds are there?
This fight's going to be 3 90-second rounds.
Okay. And you said no elbows.
No elbows.
Clearly no double legs,
It's
no-
a lot
no
of
kicks.
it's a lot of clinch work because we're going to be grabbing the jerseys and
Sure. Are you allowed to pull the jersey over their head?
we actually have a strap on the jerseys to make sure you can't
do that. Okay. They thought this through.
Yes.
They've watched Mighty Ducks a couple of times.
Well, that's something the NHL actually
Sure.
implemented a long time ago.
Yeah.
Is you have a fight strap on all the jerseys.
Obviously, this is fight number 2 on skates for you. What do you want this to kind of mold into, or what would be next after USA kicks Team Canada's rear end?
Oh, we're gonna smash them. But my overall goal is figure out the new way they're going to be starting to run the championship side of it. I want that world title.
Okay.
I want the king of the rink.
When How often are they doing these fights? Do we know?
Oh, I already know that they have another fight set up in, I believe, Edmonton, up in Canada on the 28th of June.
And so that's
So-
so if this goes well, that's the are you already
I mean, if
planning for that, or
depending on how much damage I take and
sure
if my passport comes in,
that is going to help get to Canada. What does training look like for you over then? Obviously, June 14th is still a little ways away, but it'll come quickly. What does training look like for you?
real simple. I'm treating it like it's a boxing match.
Sure.
I'm doing a lot of cardio, a lot of footwork drills, getting on the ice and having guys try to move me around, push me around. Really try to make sure I've got my footwork down and make sure I have control of myself out there, but also be able to clinch up and throw as many punches and as quickly as possible.
Yeah, because I think most people would assume, listen, your hand speed and all that's going to matter. How much do you anticipate being able to clinch and control somebody else's body being a portion of it? Is that a pretty big deal?
I mean, if I clinch right, I should be able to stop his right hands from coming over the top.
Good point.
But again, I have to be able to get a hold of his jersey and get a hold of his shoulder pads if he wears them this time.
Do you enjoy the ice skating portion, the ice portion of it more than MMA?
A little bit, but at the same time, I still love mixed martial arts. I love being able to, utilize the entire body for combat aspect.
Any plan to get back into the octagon anytime soon?
Hopefully, maybe depending on if I go back for the second show in June, maybe August. Maybe August, sometime in the fall.
All right. Well, that's Zach Hughes. He's going to head off to Michigan in June 14th to kick somebody from Canada's butt. If you want to sponsor Team Hughes, get a hold of Chrissy and the team. And if you need their connection, please 402-951-1620. We can get you in touch with her as well. But I appreciate you doing this, man. Hopefully we're talking to you in June after a win, talking about it going up to Canada.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys for having me on. It is an absolute honor. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
It's been fantastic, man. We're always looking to promote the fight game here on After Hours. If you missed Zach's segment tonight, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620. It was brought to you by Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. Maybe you're looking to go to your next favorite sporting event. Hey, maybe it's Ice Wars. You're looking for something USA representative to wear to Michigan in June. You can stop by 78th and Dodge. They've got the best options for all your golf polos. They've got the best options in road pants. Maybe you're trying to get out on the golf link sometime tomorrow, because you're definitely not doing it tonight with the storm rolling in. Stop by Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear, 78th and Dodge. They've been dressing Omaha for over 50 years. We'll be right back. Buying or selling on the other side of the break. 1620 The Zone. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Paul Davis Restoration. Listen, look outside your window right now. You see that storm rolling in? It's probably going to affect your house in some way. And if you're affected by seasonal storms this year, you're going to need your house restored. How can you do that? You can call Paul Davis at 402-553-0373. Work with a local restoration company. They can help you with water damage. They can help you with fire damage. They're going to restore your house to however it was before the tragedy that's happening in your life is happening. Call Paul Davis, 402-553-0373. It's going to be the worst call you're going to have to make, but you're going to be glad you did it. It's Paul Davis Restoration. Thank you to Zach Hughes and Christy Salter for stopping and talking to us about Ice Wars coming up June 14th. Check out icewars.com for more details on that. This is the top of the second hour, brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. Head over to pyramidroof.com to book a free estimate for your windows, your roof, your gutters, your siding. Danny Mo, and turn your camera around. And change your name from Chrissy. It's Chrissy, not Christy, by the way. She hates that.
That's my bad.
Storms rolling into the metro area. We're going to try to keep you up to date. We may have to cut into our coverage here as the storms are rolling in, but as long as we can stay with you, we'll try to keep you up to date on what is going on. We've got
It's like 9:00 at night out there right now.
KTV on in the studio, trying to keep Bill Ramby's sleeves are at wrist level, so I think we should be okay for the time being. But it is time for buy or sell. We're going to talk baseball. We're going to talk football. We're going to talk wrestling. Let's talk about it all. Dan, what do we got?
Buy or sell. That's what we usually do at 7:00. And first question of the night, Ryan Brown, who led North Carolina in sacks last season with 7.5 and 54 tackles, has entered the transfer portal. Buy or sell, this is a bad look for the beginning of the Bill Belichick era.
Yeah, listen, I thought this. My initial reaction was, "Ooh, that's not a really good look." But it's so hard to look at Bill Belichick's resume and say, "Well, this is definitely bad." So I think I'm going to sell for a second, because maybe with what Bill Belichick is trying to accomplish in Chapel Hill, Ryan Brown just doesn't fit that system. So I can't but here's the other thing. Like, Bill Belichick has been known just to ship guys out of town as quickly as they don't agree with what his philosophies are. So I'm hesitant for now. I'm selling, but I think if this is a continued thing where just high talented players are leaving North Carolina because they don't like Bill Belichick, it could be a really bad look.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, because I sell as well, because this has become all too common in college football, where new coach comes in, spring practice happens, transfer window's still open, and it's kind of I don't really like the way this coach is coaching, or his style doesn't jive with my style. Time for me to leave.
Yeah.
And
look what just happened with Matt Rule we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's just such a common thing that I don't think it spells disaster at this point.
He could be their Jack McAllister for all we know.
But eventually, like you said, Jimmy, if we see like 5 or 6 more guys who just say, "Yeah, I'm out of here," and they're the real good guys on the roster, I'm going to go, "Uh-oh. Bill, you should have just stayed with your girlfriend on the beach."
Agreed. Dan?
Speaking of the beach, Mark Andrews, he's in the final year of his 4-year, $56 million contract. He averaged 39.6 receiving yards last season, and that's the worst since his rookie year. He also dropped that 2-point conversion in the AFC divisional round. Buy or sell that the Ravens should re-sign the 29-year-old tight end to a new deal?
I don't think they should, but I think they're going to. I mean, listen, Lamar Jackson loves Mark Andrews, and that's going to go a long, long way. But with that being said, after that drop and that 2-point conversion in the AFC divisional round, the camera panned to Lamar Jackson. He wasn't very happy. So, I mean, hey, listen, if Lamar wants him, I think the Ravens are going to do whatever they can to keep Lamar happy. And with that being said, I think they end up keeping him.
Yep, locker room glue guy, in my opinion. He's one of those guys that no one in the Ravens organization really has a bad word to say about. And I will remind you, while Lamar Jackson did look extremely frustrated after that dropped pass on the field, after the game and his media availability, he said, "Hey,
he did.
It'd be pretty cool if we didn't blame Mark Andrews for that. There are a lot of factors that go into dropping a pass like that, and I didn't really throw him the greatest of balls."
It was right on the money and hit him in the hands. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
What else?
That being said, Jimmy's grumble says it all.
What else we got, Dan?
Well, we're 1 week away from the NFL draft. I might remind you, in the greatest city in all of America, Green Bay.
It's not even a real
Mel
city.
Kiper has.
Go
All
ahead.
right. See you later. Mel Kiper has Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, and Jackson Dart as the top 3 quarterbacks. He has Tyler Show.
Sorry.
Oh,
I
Show
didn't see you pointing at
of
me.
Louisville as the number 4 quarterback. Buy or sell, Show will be the 4th quarterback off the board.
Why do people hate Kyle McCord so much?
That was my thought exactly. When I wrote this question, I was like, he is 4th. That is factual. Kyle McCord's just better.
Jalen Milroe and Will Howard are ahead of Kyle McCord on this list. Yeah, so it goes Show, Milroe, Howard, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord is the 9th best quarterback on this list. I think he's worth a 2nd round pick. I really do. I think he's probably the 4th. You know who's not? Like, you know how much I've been against Jalen Milroe since day one. Like, I just don't think he's an NFL level quarterback. The fact that he's the 5th guy on this list, somebody's going to fall in love with him. Somebody's going to take a reach on him. I just don't think he's ready for that. I didn't think he was ready to be the starter at Alabama. I don't think he's ready to be a starter in the NFL.
You know what? I disagree with the list. Kyle McCord is one of the best quarterbacks in this draft, but I like this for Kyle McCord more than anyone else because some team is going to say, oh, well, look at this. We can get Kyle McCord in like a late draft situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kyle McCord's going to come into camp and he's going to be like, all right, I was the 9th quarterback off the board. Went to Syracuse. No one thinks I'm that good. How about I just set everything on fire? You guys are going to see how good Kyle McCord is. He's got 2 C's in his name because he is credit card worthy.
Yeah.
Spend all the money on him. Aaron Judge hit a home run last night as the Yankees swept the Royals.
They sure did.
Aaron Judge is hitting over 400 and he's now minus 275 to win the AL MVP. Buy or sell, your boy should be the front runner for the AL MVP.
No, he should not be the front runner for the AL MVP. They should just stop the race and give it to him now. He's absolutely the best player in all of the American League. He's going
it's a good psych out.
to win the American League MVP. He's playing really well in center field too. I mean, he's giving them a lot of really good defense from center field. And he hit 62 home runs 2 years ago. He hit 58 home runs last year. He's on pace to hit north of 50 again this year. He's doing it in the non-steroid era. He's one of the greatest sluggers of all time already, in my opinion. If he hits over 50 home runs in 3 consecutive years, and he's already done it 3 times up until this point, he hit over 50 in 2019. We're going to start having a discussion about one of the greatest of all time. And if he's not already there, I think he's definitely deserving to be in that consideration. The way he's doing it at 31 now and not seeing a dip like we've seen with other great hitters is incredibly impressive. And yeah, I think he's going to win the AL MVP this year. I think he's the best hitter in baseball. Throw Shohei Ohtani into that discussion if you want to. But I think he might be the most valuable player in all of baseball.
Yeah, remind me, Jimmy, what's the name of that gardening tool that has all like the little prongs at the end of it? Yeah, that's exactly what Aaron is doing all season. I almost called him Aaron Jones.
I was wondering where you were going with the garden tool, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah, he's just been raking this season, and he deserves the AL MVP. If the race were to stop today, it's his. And I have a feeling, and I'm probably going to be right about it, that once the race actually does stop in October, he's going to be the AL MVP. Unless all of a sudden Shohei Ohtani like just goes on like the heaterest of heaters and breaks Roger Maris's record of some sort.
Do we need to break into weather? We have tornado sirens going on outside. I don't know if I just heard them. They just turned off, and we're getting reports. I'm getting text messages too. So if you're in the Omaha area and you can hear the sound of my voice, please seek shelter if you're probably going to need to. Looks like there's Bill Ramby is trying to keep us up to date here on KTV as well. We'll go to a quick break here, check on that, try to keep you updated on the weather and more when we come back. It's the After Hours Lounge. If you missed that segment, check it out at soundcloud.com/After Hours 1620. Is brought to you by Controlled Comfort Heating and Air. If it hails near you tonight and you have damage to your AC, you're going to want to get maintenance done on it. Have Controlled Comfort come out, take a look at your AC, make sure it's ready for the summer months after the seasonal storms roll through. Check out Controlled Comfort's new website at controlledcomfort.com tonight. We'll be right back. Hopefully give you the social media soundbite, but keeping you up to date on the weather's more as we come back on 1620 The Zone.
I'll give Nick a call.
Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Williams Law. If you're dealing with a legal issue right now, you don't know what your rights are, maybe you don't understand the situation you're in, whether it be criminal, civil, whatever it may be, Williams Law is going to walk you through the process, explain your rights, get you ready for your big day in court, and make sure they give you the proper counsel. Check out Williams Law to get a free, no obligation legal consultation tonight. Appreciate everybody joining us here on the After Hours Lounge. We're going to cut over to KETV's coverage of the storm. Keep everybody up to date what's going on. That's going to do us for the show tonight. We appreciate everybody joining us. Thanks to Zach Hughes, Chrissy Salter for coming in. Appreciate everybody punching into the night shift tonight. That's going to do it for us. We're going to kick it over to Bill Ramey and KETV's coverage here on 1620 The Zone.